Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Viltrox 33mm f1.4, a very interesting lens that is going to fit in a low budget price for a f1.4 prime lens. And before we're going to go into the review of this lens, let me just show you a couple of pictures that I took with this one, just to show you what this lens can do. And then we'll be back here to talk about it. Let's just talk about construction. As you've seen, the lens is very capable. You've seen a couple of pictures and it's got potential. The construction of this lens is very good. It's full metal, even the hood is metal, which is unusual nowadays. And it's hefty to a certain degree because it's 270 grams, while let's just say the 35 f2 XC is only 130. So this weighs double the XC version of the 35mm from Fuji, and it's even heavier than the 35mm f1.4 from Fuji. The lens is even bigger than all of these lenses, including the 35XC, but it fits perfectly in, like for the XC3, it fits perfectly. It feels well balanced. There's nothing to complain about it. So yeah, it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit heftier, but it's metal and it's fine. I don't have that much to complain about the construction of this lens. Even though, despite being metal, despite being good, it's not comparable to the best Fujifilm lenses. They feel different, they feel more solid. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Of course, it's way better than the plasticky 35mm XC when it comes to construction. What else? The aperture ring is there, exists, but it's clickless. So this could be potentially a good thing, especially for video, but we're gonna talk about it later, just to see if it's a real good thing or it's just a quirk for this lens. The lens has also got a very good manual focus ring. I felt right at home. It was smooth. It was really good. I really enjoyed those few times that I used it manually. I really enjoyed it. So very good manual focus ring. It only has not so close minimum focusing distance, but so you can't forget about close-ups. But other than that, the construction is really good. The overall design of the lens is really good. Let's talk about image quality now. The image quality is good. Let me just say that without any fear of having someone telling me that it's not true. The image quality is good. It's sharp even wide open at f1.4. Of course, in the center, when you go towards the corners, it's going to get worse when wide open, and it's going to get better as you stop down, which is usual. But the sharpness is really good. There's some fringing, either green or purple, depending on what it is that you're shooting, which can be worked on in post-production. This lens doesn't have the automatic profile correction as the other lenses that the original lenses from Fuji, so you could expect that to happen. But again, it's not too bad. You can work with it. Talking about wide open, when you shoot wide open, even though I told you that it's sharp, and it's sharp, when you have high contrast scene with like white and blacks, or very bright and very dark, it becomes somehow hazy. I don't know how to explain it, so I'm going to show you now on the screen. It's got this haze which is not present when it's a little bit less of contrast in the scenes. And this goes away as you stop down. Already 1.8, you don't see that too much. Again, it doesn't happen too often, but you better know it. So I have to tell, as a reviewer, I have to tell you so you can make your own determination whether it's something you can accept or not. To me, it doesn't get in the way of getting the lens just because of this. It's got a good flare resistance. Actually, as you've seen in the pictures before, I love the flare that this lens provides when you're shooting against the sun. I really like it. So it's got some I don't know, sweetness to it. I like it. I think you got it. Vignetting is not that big of a problem. I mean, you have some, but again, it's normal. It's a 1.4 prime lens. As you stop down, it goes away. Nothing to really complain or to be worried too much. Let's talk autofocus now. Let me say this first. We're blessed. There is a third-party lens with autofocus. As of now, we've only had Zeiss, and I guess that's it, because I don't think Samyang has anything for Fuji. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember each and every lens. But now we have an alternative that is autofocus, and it's got a decent actually a good autofocus, because I found this lens to have a really good autofocus. It's fast, it's silent, and it's accurate. I've had some occasion where the autofocus wasn't super precise, but as it was when I was shooting with that couple that you've seen before, and I was in the woods, I was wide open, I was moving, they were moving, so I cannot really blame it on the lens. Because on starting subjects, I've had no issues at all focusing. So honestly, I can say that the autofocus is really good, and it's really silent. So I'm really happy. Speaking of video, which is becoming more and more important nowadays, this review is a video and you're seeing on YouTube, and it's being filmed with this lens, the 33 Viltrox F1.4 at 1.4. What can I say? I can say that I really like this lens for video. I'll discuss more in the conclusions, but I really like it. The focus transition is super smooth. With the same settings, they're a little bit slower, sometimes a little bit too slow compared to the Fuji lenses, but they're smooth, it doesn't go back and forth, it's precise. I really like it. You're seeing now on the screen something. And it's got no focus breathing. We'll discuss it later. I'll show you a comparison with a Fuji lens. But this is really important. As video becomes more and more important, having no focus breathing or only minimal focus breathing is really important. Of course, this lens is not stabilized, so you know it, you buy it knowing that you're going to be using a tripod or a gimbal if you're moving. So for video, I have to recommend this lens. It's really good. I mean, there's not much to say about it. Before we go into the conclusion on this lens, a quick comparison with the 35mm f2 XC from Fujifilm. And if we take away the construction, the weather sealing, and the price, we can do the same comparison with the 35 f2 XF. This lens is clearly built better than the XC lens, but even costs a little bit more, and it weighs double the weight of the 35XC. So there's positive and negatives on that. But it's, as I said before, it's got no breathing or very minimal breathing. And if you're doing video compared to the 35XC that you see now, the difference is huge. You're seeing the footage from the Viltrox again now. You can see how big of a difference this does. If you look at the corner, it's just mind-blowing, the difference. So this is really, really, really important. When you compare the two lenses, one against each other, though, you realize that yes, this lens has an f1.4 aperture, but when you shoot it with the same settings, I found out that every picture is about 2/3 of a stops darker with the Viltrox. That means that if you shoot both of them at f2, the Viltrox is going to expose as if the Fuji was set at f2.5. So this is important because you may think you have got a 1.4 lens and you're going to have a full stop advantage when you're in low light, but it's not like that, to be honest. So you need to know that this is a difference that it's important to take in mind, okay? It's not a deal breaker, but it's something you need to know. Also, comparing the two lenses, you see a difference in the color rendition because you can see that the Viltrox has got a little bit colder color renderings with some green hue, while the Fuji is a more well-rounded color. It's warmer. It's a lot. I like it a lot more. Okay, let's just say that. On top of that, the XC lens, the 35mm XC from Fuji, doesn't have an aperture ring, while this Viltrox lens does. The only thing is, this Viltrox lens, yes, it's got an aperture ring, but this aperture ring is clickless, which should be fantastic for video because if you're moving your aperture around, you shouldn't see any steps. But guess what? The mechanism for the aperture, it works at steps anyways. It works at 1/3 of a stop steps. So even though the ring is clickless, the way the blades move is in full thirds of stop, meaning that having a clickless ring makes no sense. So what I would say is, if it's for just pictures, you'd probably be better off with the Fuji lenses rather than with this, just because the stop advantage is only theoretical, and the aperture ring without a click doesn't give you a feedback, so you may end up moving it around without realizing, and only after you see that you've moved 2/3 of a stop, one stop, without noticing it, because you don't always, if you're shooting on a fast pace, you don't always look at the setting on your viewfinder, and I don't have the automatic playback of the images. I only look at them after, so I may end up shooting a lot of pictures assuming I'm at f1.4, and in the meantime I've moved it to 2.5. I just say that, like, blowing away a series of pictures. So for photography purposes, I'd rather go with the Fuji. In conclusion, this lens is a really, really great addition for the Fujifilm lineup, especially because it is autofocus, which is not common for third-party lenses. We know Tokina is gonna add lenses, which is gonna be basically these lenses rebranded with some tweaks. We don't know, I'll be curious to test them, we'll see. But other than that, there's only Zeiss with prices that go way, 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 way too close to €1,000. So it's a great addition. So as we said, it's a great value for money, because €300, it's a really great lens for €300. There's not much you can say about it. It's a 1.4 lens. It's it's got a good construction, we must say that. It's not as the best Fujifilm lenses, but it's a good construction. It feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's breaking apart in your hands. It's got a great AF, and it's almost perfect for video. It's a great lens for video. On the other hand, what is that doesn't convince me at all with this lens? The fact that this lens is not as bright as the nominal aperture would say. As I said before, there's 2/3 darker than other lenses at same settings. So basically you're giving away the full stop advantage that you have in theory with compared to the Fuji f2 lenses. The aperture ring makes no sense at all, like at all. It's like the most stupid thing that they could have done. They did it with this aperture ring. And again, guys, I like this lens, but that aperture ring bothers me because it makes no sense at all. It's got some fringing when it's wide open, and it's got that haziness whenever it's too contrasty. And what else? No, nothing. There's nothing that goes, nothing really important that goes against this lens. So yeah, for me, it's a great lens. I would recommend. Oh no, I forgot something. I already discussed it, but I wanted to point it out at the end of the video anyways. The fact that it's got slightly different colors, not even slightly, different colors compared to other Fuji lenses, makes you think about using this lens if you're using it in a workflow with other lenses. Why? Because if you're applying the same settings to the whole group of photos, you're gonna have different result when you're using this lens. So you will need to tweak each picture you shoot with this lens to make sure it looks similar if you want to have a similar result to the ones shot with other Fuji lenses. And even worse, in video, if you're applying a lot, that lot is gonna get you different results if you use it with a footage shoot with this lens. So as a one lens for one purpose, I'd highly recommend it to everybody. If you use it in a workflow, it may be worth looking at other options because of this difference in colors. Other than that, honestly, this lens is great. If you got so far, thank you for watching. I'm very pleased that you got so far. If you like this video, subscribe, leave me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, leave me a thumbs down, which is fine. And more than anything, comment down below. I would like to create a community where we share thoughts. I'm not here to teach anything to anybody, even because I'm not good at teaching anything. So share your thoughts. I'm here. I'll try to answer back to everybody, and I'm doing it as much as I can. So again, thank you, goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one, which is going to be the Viltrox 85mm 1.8, another very interesting lens. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.